Okay, welcome to the next project. So in this project, I decided just to do something relatively easy, but goes over a good few fundamental steps, something you might need to create yourself. So in this case, we have a bank here. We have some stones clouding up. You have a wooden plank here. You have some bark. Then you have some planting scattered along. And then you have some lawn, some cut lawn. We're going to create this. So let's go into 3ds Max. And I'll show you what we have. So in this scene, I just created a spline, put a bend modifier on it, and then created a loft using this shape. So using this shape, and then a spline along the bottom here, I created this bank. Up above, we have the splines we're going to use. Okay, so this spline, go over here. We have for the grass, then this spline. We have for the bark. Then this one inside is for the planting on the bark. And then we have the stones. We're going to be using this spline here. So let's go from left to right. So let's get the grass straight away. So let's select in our forest per object. So we create in here, select that forest per object and let it collect the maps. There we go. And we're going to make sure we're on generate, and we're going to click this surface. Then I'm going to right click and go into my modify panel. So let's first add in our geometry. So if we go into library, we're going to go into the default Forest Pro library, go into the presets, go into lawns, and we're going to let's choose cut grass field 02 large. Make sure you don't use the detail. We could use technically detail on this one because it's quite small. So yeah, let's use the detail one for this, but I'd only recommend it for quite small areas. It's very detailed and highly dense. You can see we've hit our max limit already. So you can see we've gone in here and it's scattering everywhere. We don't want that. So we're going to go to our geometry. We're going to go to, not geometry. We're going to go to our surfaces, and we're going to auto enable this so it updates. And we're going to go to our areas, and we're going to add in our first spline. Okay, nothing's going to happen because it's already populated and all that. So we need to go to our surface and switch this off. So now this grass is only going in this area. So if I hit F9, you'll see we have our grass and our grass edge there. Exactly what we want. So let's hit stop, go back to our image. And the next thing we want to do is apply this bark material. So again, Forest Pro has a great material for this. I should say preset. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select this forest per object. I'm going to name it, call this grass, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Make sure it's a copy, not an instance. And I'm going to call this bark. Click OK. And let it copy. We'll then go to remove this spline area. We're going to go to our geometry, delete this, go into our library, and go down here to mulch. And we can choose any of these. I'm going to choose bark natural 2. Actually, let's go bark. I like this one a bit better. Natural light. Loads is selected. Click OK. Click yes. And that's been loaded in. But we need to add in our areas. Go back to areas and add in our spline. Click this spline here. And there you go. We have them here. I'm going to switch this to edge mode and let's hit render. And there we go. We have our bark in here and then we have our grass. So it's working out pretty well. Hit stop. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in these stones. So let's create a forest per object. We're going to go up to this spline, select it, right click, and we're going to go to geometry again. Click the library, and we'll do another preset, which is in stones. And we're going to select, let's go to big, let's see, all same size. Is there another section I can check? Actually, no, yeah, there is. So we go to 3D and we go to stones here. So this is where we have a bit more control. I'm going to select, let's say, select all these ones here and click load. Click all the warnings, Okay, and now we're in. But we have a bit of an issue. The spline is being used here. So we need to go to our surfaces and add in our surface. Click here, and there we go. Now it's being scattered on that surface. However, we want to change one thing, which is in areas, we don't want this to be 10 meters. We want to push it down, and we also want to change our distribution to be something a lot larger. So we're going to change this to full, and there we go. Now 100 is still too small, so there's plenty of rock. So let's go to something like 55. That's almost half, and I'm going to hit render just to see what it looks like. And as you can see, it's looking okay, but the rocks are way too big, and it's also not enough of them, and the way they're laid out doesn't look great. So let's change that. So I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to select the items, and let's first of all go to geometry. And I could go individually and change the scale, but I know every single one of these rocks is too big, so I'm going to go to the global scale, and let's push this down to probably half the size. So now we have a lot of space in between our stones, so we need to go to distribution and increase this. So let's go to something, I think we'll have to go to as low as like 22 maybe. And then I'm going to hit F9 and see where we are. That's looking a lot better. Now we have a bit of an issue where we have gaps here. So I'm going to go in the top down view, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to areas and maybe increase this slightly to about that. And then I'm also going to make sure it's on edge mode. Let's hit F9, see where we are. And yeah, that's a bit better. Now, obviously one thing is they're all facing this grid shape. They're all similar size and they're not rotated that much. So we need to change the transforms. So let's do that. Go into the transform tab, and we want to change the translation, the rotation, and also the scale. Now, if I hit F9, you'll see that looks a lot better, way more believable just by clicking those. Now, there's still a bit too sparse, but at the moment I think I'm okay with that. It's only I only want to show you the purpose of it, and if you want, you can increase the amount you use. So I'm going to hit stop, because one thing that's happening is the stones are all kind of down here, are like pointing straight up, like defying gravity. So what I need to do here is I need to select these, and I need to go to my surfaces, and I need to change this instead of up. I need to change this to normal. So put that to 0. So it's following the surface rather than just sticking straight up. So now if I hit F9, that looks a lot better. Okay, so we have our stones, we have our mulch, and we have our grass. So if we go back to the image, the only thing now we really need are these plants along the side. Now I'll show you one way and why you shouldn't technically do it this way. If I go back here, stop that. What we need to do is I have these splines set up here, and if you were just to copy, say this mulch, we have this, so we can copy this and we can say bark planting, and then you could go in here, you can go into geometry, remove these, go into library, and let's go to 3D, start a library, and just select one of these. Click OK. Yes. And obviously the scale is way too big. Change it to point cloud so we can see it a bit better. Go to geometry, select this lilac and scale it down. So something like that. So if I was to hit F9 now, give it a second, you can see we have a slight issue, which is we could change the distribution and make it scatter so it's a bit more random, but in this example you see they're planted and they're along a certain path, like they change direction. So we need to use a path instead of using just an image. So hit stop. I'm going to go in here and we're going to change the distribution mode to path. So we need to choose a path. So I've made these in advance. Click these, And then we have this. So we need to change one thing is we do not want 0.1 distribution, increase that a lot more. And as you can see, this planting now divides evenly. So let's go back to geometry and increase the scale a bit. Something like that. Go back to distribution and we want to randomize the position slightly, just so it's not perfect. So now if I hit F9, we now have this planting going along the edge. Now it's not the exact planting you want, but it's the same idea where this planting goes along this edge. And that's pretty much how you create this type of effect. You have your surface, you create your splines, separate it out. You can use an edge here to increase the thickness. You can use the mulch here and use the same technique for the grass. And that's as simple as that, how you can create this realistic look in a few minutes.